So today we are wrapping up part 2 of our series, Finding Our Roots, where we have been exploring where we came from as far as the unity movement and how it's evolved over the last 100 and I think we're at about 130 years now. And we do this as part to not only help us identify in a greater way with who we are as unity, but it's also an avenue to have a deeper connection with our New Thought brothers and sisters that are out there, and to enhance our sense of resilience, which, boy, I need some enhancing of my resilience today. And there are challenging times, and it feels like this is the most challenging time that humankind has ever walked through, and yet, as we look back, we can see that many of those who came before us had that very quality of resilience that allowed them to develop what we now get to enjoy today. And given that it's Mother's Day today, and there are a lot of women that are the pioneers of the New Thought movement, I'm going to spend a little extra time emphasizing and highlighting those women who, at a time where women were not at the forefront, especially in the realm of spirituality or religion, what a critical role that women have played as part of our New Thought development. So just for a little recap of last week, we were born in the mid-19th century. New Thought began to arise at that time. It was the height of the scientific revolution. It was Darwinism and a new understanding in how we have come to be here and how both the earth and humankind had evolved over a period of time. It was the Industrial Revolution. We're 50 years into our brand new country called the United States of America. And it was really the opportunity for many people for the first time to pursue happiness in whatever form was right for them. Up until then, they've pretty much been dictated to by whatever country they came from about how they were to think, what they were able to accomplish and do. And now there was this wide open individual freedom. And many people came to this country for that very reason. They wanted that freedom to pursue their own happiness, to explore new ideas, and to be able to freely discuss them and challenge each other as they learned more and more about other cultures, whether it was Native American cultures, Eastern cultures. This became the big mixing pot, so there was a lot of opportunity to learn from each other. And out of that, and many of these discussions, Ralph Waldo Emerson and many of those that he was having deep conversations with created what we know today as the Transcendental Movement. And it was a blending of all of these things, but it really, at its core, was about how we could directly connect and understand that which we call God. And it employed a lot of meditation, which we use today. It saw the unity in all of life, which we would embody as one of our principles today. So many of those ideas flourished out of these early seekers and those who were applying these transcendental ideas. And there was a man named Phineas Quimby who was taking all of this, and he came to the realization that sickness, and we didn't know what we know about medicine today. We didn't have the insight about how the body works today. Illnesses just showed up and they threw stuff at it and hoped something would work. And they really didn't understand, even when it did work, why it worked. And he came to the understanding that all illness, all sickness, all ailments of the body started in the mind, started with a false belief, started with thinking things that were causal to the body reacting in the way that it did. And I don't know if that's 100% true, but it's certainly partly true, at least in my opinion today. And he started teaching people this, and he started working with people and healing them. And one of the people that he healed was Mary Baker Eddy. And Mary Baker Eddy then went on to embody these ideas, especially around healing, as she created the Church of Christ Scientists, or what we would better know today as Christian Science. And she had been a very sickly child. And in fact, it's really interesting as I was putting this together, almost every woman who came into the New Thought movement and became a leader in the New Thought movement had a very serious healing issue that they had dealt with for most of their lives. And many of the women had the same kind of respiratory illnesses, and it was often identified as tuberculosis. And so Mary Baker Eddy had been sick her whole life and had just struggled to engage in life in a way that suited her. She had a really tough first 40 years of her life, because in addition to sickness, she married young, at about 20, I guess that wasn't young in those days, and got pregnant, and almost as soon as that child was born, her husband died of some mysterious illness. And she then moved back home, met another man, got engaged to him, and he died before they could get married. And at that time, if you were an unmarried woman with a child, you had no custody rights. And so her child was removed from the home and placed in with people that she did not know. And the child was told that his mom was dead, and she would not see her son again until by chance through various people and research that was being done until he was in his 30s. And so she was struggling at this whole time, and it was about in her early 40s where she discovered this healing, and then this became her life's work. And one of the students that she taught was Emma Curtis Hopkins. And Emma Curtis then is now credited with teaching all of the main leaders of the three branches that we know today as the New Thought movement. And she and her family were also healed of a difficult respiratory illness that led her to study under Mrs. Baker. And they both believed in this idea that this healing method, if we could really get it out there to everyone, was what they termed the second coming of Christ into the world. That this was the method that would finally transform the world. Didn't quite happen that way, but that was certainly one of their beliefs. But she disagreed with Mrs. Eddy when she was taught that matter had no intelligence at all. She was under the awareness and ascribed to the truth that God was in all things. And so if God is in all things, then God is the very essence that animates matter itself. Not only tables, but human beings, thinking, animals, everything. And therefore, she said, it is in God that I live and move and have my being. Probably a few of you have heard that quote. That comes from Emma Curtis Hopkins. And so she created a college and taught many students. And as I iterated before, the three major founders of unity, religious science, and divine science, which are the main branches of the New Thought movement. And we touched briefly last week on Melinda Kramer, and interestingly enough, she also had healing issues, went to someone, a practitioner, experienced healing, and then this launched her into her work in divine science. And the only male that really started one of the branches of New Thought was Ernest Holmes with religious science, or what we know today as Centers for Spiritual Living. But his wife, in my research, played a really pivotal role in the expansion and development of teaching people how to be what they call practitioners, what we would probably call, a prayer chaplain or a care team prayer support person that would really support those who came in receiving this same kind of healing that they had received. But today, we're going to spend the remainder of this time focusing on unity. And Unity is the largest of all of the three movements in New Thought, and it began with Myrtle Fillmore. And I know some of you know this story, but she had also suffered from tuberculosis, what they believed at that time an inherited disease, genetically inherited because people in families tended to get it. They didn't understand the concept of airborne diseases at that time, and had been told, because others had also suffered from it, that this was something she inherited. And in 1886, at the age of 41, after really having a pretty tough go of life up until that point, she attends a lecture by E.B. Weeks, who had been trained by Emma Curtis Hopkins, and she heard this, and it was something that struck her at her core. She heard the statement, "I am a child of God, therefore I do not inherit sickness." And this was really pivotal for her because she had believed, she had been told that this was an inherited disease. So over a period of 2 years, she used this mental prayer treatment to completely heal herself from tuberculosis. And this is the way she describes it, that it unfolded for her. She said she would go and she would sit in a quiet place. She said, and I told the life in my liver that it was not torpid or inert, but full of vigor and energy. I told the life in my stomach that it was not weak and inefficient, but energetic, strong, and intelligent. I told the life in my abdomen that it was no longer infested with ignorant ideas of disease, put there by myself and by my doctors, but that it was all alive with the sweet, pure, wholesome energy of God. I told my limbs that they were active and strong. I told my eyes that they did not see of themselves, but they expressed the sight of spirit. And they were drawing on an unlimited source. I told them that they were young eyes. I need to work with this. Clear, bright eyes, because the light of God shone through them. I told my heart that the pure love of Jesus Christ flowed in it and flowed through it, beating in every part of my being, that wonderful, joyous pulsation. And this is the second part, and she felt this was really important too, so I want you to hear this. She said, then I asked the Father to forgive me for taking his life in my body and using it so wastefully. I promised that I would never ever again retard the free flow of life through my mind and my body by any false word or thought. I asked all of my organs to forgive me for calling them diseased, for cursing them for not working in the way that I wanted them to. I would always bless and encourage this body and this spiritual life with true thoughts and words in its wise work of building up my body temple, and that I would use all diligence and wisdom, telling it just what I wanted it to do. And she did this every day, and slowly, as she describes it, my body began to wake up. My organs began to wake up and function in a way that was whole, that allowed the fullness of my life to flow through it. And so I thought this morning this would be a great place for us to pause and take Myrtle's words and apply them to our own bodies. We may not be facing a specific disease. We may not have anything particularly challenging about it, but we want to always give our bodies the love and see them through the eyes of God as whole, well, and perfect. So I would just invite you to just take a moment right now to breathe into this moment, to feel that fullness of air moving into your lungs. And feel how it moves out of those lungs as you exhale. as you breathe regularly and normally. Bring your attention into your heart space, that place in the center of your being. That space where there is a sacred chamber that is always connected to the divine source. And go in to that room and imagine yourself just closing the door, which closes out all of the outside thoughts, feelings, that lets you just release any struggles that might be happening in your external engagement with the world. And just for these next few moments, to go into this sacred chamber and connect. Connect with the source of love and wholeness. And ask that divine wisdom that lives in this chamber of love. If there's any part of your body or any beliefs you might be holding on to about yourself that are less than perfect, to guide you there and to affirm they are filled, they are animated by this whole perfect energy of God. We know that cells can be transformed simply by changing their energetic vibration. And so we just see that channel of divine love surrounding, enfolding, infusing every cell in our entire being. We can feel a sense of lightness begin to take over. And if there's any part of our bodies that we have held the belief that they weren't all they should be, we just ask for their forgiveness now. We affirm life. We affirm health. We affirm that this body is here to support us in all that we are called to do. And in this chamber of divine love, just feel a sense of gratitude welling up, overflowing. And know that we can return to this place anytime we find ourselves out of balance, struggling with our physical or emotional being. And as you take another deep breath in, let that breath just invigorate every part of your mind, of your body, and of your spirit. And begin to bring your attention back to this time and space. And when you are ready, slowly open your eyes and allow yourself to be fully present in this now moment. So while Myrtle was the catalyst for what we now know as unity, her husband Charles had also been witnessing what was going on with her, as had many friends and family around her. And said if this can be done for one, it should be done for all. And so they both began to study and take classes and work in their own meditation. And ultimately out of that grew the Unity School of Christianity. And this they synthesized into one of the core principles, that it is through our thoughts and feelings that we create the world of our experience, that we create our perception and our engagement into the world, in body, in mind, and in spirit. He writes this, Charles, he says, words are also seeds, and when dropped into the invisible spiritual substance, they grow and bring forth after their kind. This was the central idea in unity. And he used these same healing principles, and by the end of his lifetime had elongated his leg by about 3 inches. It had been severely damaged, and one leg was shorter than the others due to a hip fracture in his younger years. So he was able to use this to apply it to his own body. And the Fillmores, like other New Thought movements, really didn't set out to create a new denomination or even a church. They saw themselves as teachers, as ones who could share this information and allow other people to do that same work themselves. And they first began publishing what was called Modern Thought at the time. Later it was changed to Unity, and that Unity magazine still exists today. But this, I happen to have a replica here, and I don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but I'll leave it up here, or I'll leave it on this front pew if anybody's interested in. This is a replica of the first edition of Modern Thought. It cost 10 cents on April of 1889. So this was the first of their teaching arms of the movement. And today, the subscription rate for what's now known as Unity magazine is about 100,000 subscribers worldwide. And then as the movement began to grow, study groups started forming around the country, and eventually it had to take on some form from the looseness from which it started. Myrtle, who I see as the heart, in fact, Unity is unique to me because Charles was certainly the thinker and the writer and the one who put form on this. Myrtle was just all heart. She just wanted to support people and help people heal. And she established in 1924 what was first described as the Society of Silent Help, what we know today as Silent Unity, and perhaps some of you may not be aware of this, but Silent Unity is an arm of the Unity movement. It's the prayer arm, and you can call 24/7, text, email, or as they did it back then, write letters. And this group prays with anybody who connects with them. They're trained, and it is beautiful. If you haven't ever done it, I would suggest that you give Silent Unity a call and just allow them to pray with you. They also began in that same year producing the Daily Word. And the Daily Word, again, exists today, but there are daily words in the archives that date all the way back to 1924. And I don't know if you can still do it at Unity Village now, but Unity Village, which is up in Lee's Summit, Missouri, you used to be able to go in and look up any daily word from any date all the way back to 1924, and then you can read what the daily word. So on the day you were born, or the day, a significant day in your life, you can go back and read what that daily word was. I wanted to share with you, and we're going to cross fingers that this works, a little video that'll just show you a little bit about Unity Village and some of the things that they offer today, because it's good to know you're part of this Unity movement. Let's see if we can get that to go.
Unity is a spiritual community that offers practical tools and resources to people of all faiths. We help them stay positive and apply universal principles in their daily lives. Unity is the publisher of Daily Word magazine and the home of the Unity Prayer Ministry, known as Silent Unity. We pray by telephone and online with people all over the world every day of the year. Founded in 1889, Unity is based on the idea that all people are divine and our thoughts have creative power. Our mission is not to convert anyone to a particular way of thinking, but to help and serve as many people as we can with books and products to support their spiritual journey. Unity is also a place, a beautiful 1,200-acre campus just outside of Kansas City, Missouri, where we host retreats and events. To learn more about the Unity philosophy and the events at Unity Village, visit unity.org.
And there's also the original Unity Church that was built and they held their first services in 1903. It's on Tracy Street in southern Kansas City, Missouri. It's not the nicest part of town, but it was sold, and then in 1992, a Unity minister bought that property back. And it has the original pews, or chairs in it. It is the original building restored to its pristine nature back when it was first built. And you can go and attend a service there if you ever happen to be in that area. And this is a picture, and I thought it was just interesting because it's all women. The ordained ministers class of 1933, they just in the late 1920s, they started ordaining people. And at a time when women were rarely, if ever, allowed to lead a spiritual community, Unity embraced women. And I think that's true probably in our sister organizations here. So just so you know, today there are over 1,000 Unity churches and study groups, not only here in the United States, but in England. In fact, Unity is the only one that ended up going worldwide. We have England, Australia, Africa, Central, South America. They've basically, any part of the globe that you go to, if you look hard enough, you can find a Unity church there. And while it's continued to grow and evolve over these last 120 plus years, it still exists as an open, as a sacred, and as a place where people can come and heal and grow. I like to see it as an rather than here's what we believe. It's like, here's some opportunities, and I hope you always hear. Whenever I present something, I don't tell you that's the absolute final truth. It's an idea, it's a foundation for you to explore and see how that resonates with you. It is through our intellect that we can understand that we are divine children of God. And it is through our heart that we can experience ourselves as the love of God. And in Unity, I think we embody both. We encourage people to explore both sides of that. So today I want to leave you with one last picture. This is my favorite one. Hopefully it's going to show up well for you. So this was taken by somebody in the early 90s. That's Unity Village below. And this is called Angel over Unity Village. It's one of my favorite images that the cloud angel appeared over this sacred space. So as we leave today, I just invite you to once again give thanks for all of the angels that are in our lives, especially those mother figures that have blessed us with their love, as we give thanks for all of the women who came before us that establish and express their love through the New Thought movement. Now we got a video that we're going to share with you as our special music. 56.
For the moms who raised us up, gave us love, and made us strong. For the praying moms who don't always know what to do, but always know who to talk to. For the hurting moms who've loved and lost, but never given up. For those who never got called mom, but who cared for us all like a mom would. For the young moms who became moms sooner than expected and gave it all they had. For the single moms who tirelessly and courageously learned how to do this on their own. For the stepmoms and the stand-in moms who rose to the occasion and loved us well. For the working moms, the stay-home moms, the cooking moms, and the takeout moms, thank you. For teaching us how to walk, how to learn, and how to make a difference. For taking care of us when you barely had enough time to take care of yourself. For comforting us when we felt alone and afraid. For lifting us up when others put us down. For the rides, the meals, the laundry, and the birthday parties. For the years, tears, laughter, and love. It's not enough, but we want to say thank you. Thank you for doing for us what we could never do for ourselves. We love you. We honor you. We remember you today. Happy Mother's Day.
Of our financial good with this ministry, and we do stand in that value of prosperous, knowing that all that is called upon to be supported in this ministry is met with an equal resource, whether that be our time, our talents, or our treasures. So we are just very grateful for the ways that we continue to grow and prosper in this ministry. Please continue to hold us in prayer as we work out all this technical stuff now in our new space. We're inching there. I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but we are inching closer and closer each and every day. And we are grateful for the ways in which all of you support this ministry, whether it's just saying it's okay when things aren't going right, and as well as supporting us with the ways that you give to all aspects of our ministry. So let us take the energy or the physical gift that we're going to share today into our hands and into our hearts and bless it together. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. The ushers are going to bring you up one row at a time. Just place your gift or hold your hand over it to the end and add your energy to it, and then also receive an affirmation. And those of you online can go to our gift page at centerunity.org. protection. Join with me. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.